Hi, welcome back. Yes, it's finally here, the final episode of Conserving the Sherborne Cartonnage, what we've all been waiting for. I first started filming with Verena in 2019, which seems like an absolute lifetime ago. And let's face it, the world is kind of a different place. But the biggest difference of all is the actual transformation of the Sherborne Cartonnage. They've done an incredible job, and I just wanted to take a moment to show you some of the before and after shots before we actually get going, because I feel like they need to be seen.
Installation day is finally here, which is very exciting. I remember the mummy case being delivered to the lab in August 2019, so it's been with us in the studio for almost 4 years. Looking back, it's been a real journey, and I'm not going to lie, there have been ups and downs, and this project has remained a challenge until the very end. Over the last few months, we've been working really hard to finish the repairs and also make the supports the lid and base will sit on. And as you know, we've been using Japanese tissue paper to mend tears and also where required to fill areas of loss. In order to visually integrate these fills, Barbara came up with the idea to recreate the textile structure by applying a layer of paste made of cellulose fibers and adhesive and pressing a piece of fabric into the soft film. The fills were then inpainted to match the adjacent exposed textile layers, and also up to the very last minute we were still adhering small pieces of cartonnage which had become detached. As the cartonnage remained a flexible structure, we had to build a rigid support in order to ensure that the object will not deform again. And in a previous episode, you've seen us making the support for the base, but the lid is much more complex in terms of shape and detail. So we had to come up with a different method to create a former onto which we could paste our linen strips, which we soaked in adhesive. Before the object could be placed on these supports, we covered them with various layers of conservation-grade synthetic textiles to create a soft, smooth surface. In some areas, we also had to add bits of wadding and foam pads to ensure that really all areas of the lid are adequately supported. And as a final step, the edges of that mount were covered in a black jersey fabric to achieve a nice and neat finish for display. I'm about to meet John Taylor, the curator, and collection managers Evan and Caroline, who have come over and will move the cartonnage to the gallery in a moment. So yeah, I'm almost feeling a little bit emotional to see the object leave the lab today after all these years. So just come and follow me.
I'm extremely impressed by the work my colleagues in conservation have done to bring this object back to life in so many different ways, to reshape it, to bring out the colours once again, to enable us to really study it.
This has been one of the most complex conservation projects in my career so far, but there were two aspects I found really enjoyable. Firstly, there was the creative process of problem solving and addressing some of the technical challenges that came up. The second aspect was the teamwork, of course. I really enjoyed working alongside Barbara and Helene. Being able to work on such a fascinating object and returning it to a state that is close to how it looked like originally, so that it can be enjoyed again by visitors and studied by scholars, has been a real privilege and very rewarding.
We have to be creative because every object will throw a new challenge, something very specific at us. And I think in terms of challenges, this cartonnage really delivered. There's no doubt about that.
One of the crucial aspects of this whole project has been to put this mummy case back into its context, back into its historical and geographical and social context in ancient Egypt. It's an unusual piece because it comes from an area of Egypt where we don't have very much material of this kind. Certainly there's nothing in the British Museum collection which really compares with this. And because we have the archaeological record of how it was discovered and where and when, this really increases the amount of data, the value of the data this object can present to us. And of course this is not the end of the project, because although it's now been stabilised and reshaped and put back on display, there is an enormous amount more that we can learn from this mummy case.
I learned how to overcome difficulties because the cartonnage did resist treatment at many points. It just didn't cooperate. And that meant that we all had to up our game and we had to think out of our conventional thoughts. And so many of us, we invented new, at least new to us, tools. We didn't quite get on. And why didn't get on? I think, again, it was some objects work with you and some don't, and this was one that didn't. And that meant it pushed me and pushed everybody into thinking of new ways to address it. And I did wonder, when it's gone, would I miss him? And now that it is here on display, everybody else can look at him, but I don't see him every day in the studio. And there is a gap in my professional life, I have to say. So now I feel fondly.
Gosh, it's been a ride, what can I say? But it's been amazing. I've really enjoyed working on this project. It's definitely the longest project I've ever worked on. It's probably not the last we're going to hear from the Sherborne Cartonnage. The project is ongoing, as John said. There's more study to be done. Yeah, it's been good. Thanks for your support. I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad some of you liked it. People from the States have come to visit us and said how much they've enjoyed the video. So that's pretty good. Come and see the object. It's on display in the Egyptian Gallery in the British Museum in Bloomsbury, London. So come and have a look if you're in the area. It's free. And there's a lot of other amazing stuff there to look at as well. So while you're here, you can have a little look. And yeah, we'll see you soon.